Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I am Anand Narsimhan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is at the COP28 summit in Dubai and has said that Bharat has walked the talk on climate action. He said that Bharat has presented a model of development to the world where there is a balance between the development and also economy. Prime Minister also said that Bharat has achieved its emission intensity targets 11 years ahead of the committed time frame, and he said that Bharat has set targets to bring emission intensity down by 45% by 2030 and increase the share of non-fossil fuels to 50%. PM Modi also launched the Green Credit Initiative, which is focused on creating carbon sinks through people's participation. In fact, PM Narendra Modi also proposed to host the COP33 summit in Bharat. He spoke about the Green Credit Initiative, which will help create a carbon sink through Jan Bhagidari. That means people's participation. The PM also met UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed and also the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the COP28 summit in Dubai. He's also met the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and said strong friendship between the two nations will help create a better future for the coming generations. On the sidelines, he also met with the UK Foreign Secretary, a former Prime Minister himself, David Cameron, and also former UK PM, Tony Blair. Now let's set up story number one, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a plot to stymie and somewhere corner Bharat in the geopolitical discourse using this entire K2 factor and these goons and these elements? Are two or three of the Five Eyes conspiring to corner Bharat?
US side shared some inputs pertaining to nexus between organized criminals, gun runners, terrorists, other extremists. We take, of course, such inputs very seriously.
The government announced today that it was conducting an investigation, and that's good and appropriate, and we look forward to seeing the results.
India remains a strategic partner. And we're going to continue to work to improve and strengthen that strategic partnership.
We want to work together. Bharat is a strategic partner, but then is there an intention to say we want to also keep you in control or on a leash? Is this a concerted effort to try and corner Bharat and somewhere stymie its rise? That's a question that we'll ask, and there's a reason why. The United States has charged an Indian national with a conspiracy to murder terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. I call him a terrorist because Bharat has branded him and designated him a terrorist. He is a US citizen and has been designated a terrorist by our government. The US Attorney's Office said Nikhil Gupta was arrested by Czech authorities in June and is awaiting extradition. On the other hand, Bharat has constituted a high-level inquiry committee to look into the aspect and probe this matter, and in a thorough probe to try and cover all the relevant aspects of this entire matter. Top intel sources revealing to News 18 that Bharat and American diplomats are in regular touch with each other and exchanging intelligence over a range of issues. Intel sources also revealing that we as a nation have been sharing evidence against Pannun with the US, and their response to the evidence should have been quicker, and nothing much has been forthcoming so far. Intel sources also questioning America's silence when Pannun threatens Bharatiya Sarkar and also its officials on a daily basis, even threatening travelers from resisting to travel on Air India. All of these messages are out there vandalizing and also rewarding and announcing rewards for those people who commit acts of vandalism, acts of secession against Bharat, and of course being involved in criminal activities. These aspects, how is it that it's escaped the attention of the US authorities? Now, this is where Bharat and the United States currently stand. The US has alleged that a government employee from our country, Nikhil Gupta, he's an ex-government employee, and his role in a murder plot But we have said that targeted killing is contrary to our government's policy and our policy as a nation. The US has also said that they raised the issue with the officials directly, their counterparts directly here within the MEA. And the MEA has responded saying that the US has shared inputs on organized criminals, gun runners and terrorists, and that there is a probe panel that's been constituted to look into the matter. US Senator Ben Cardin said that the alleged assassination plot underscores efforts to silence dissenters living abroad. The MEA, however, has clarified that a high-level inquiry committee has been formed to probe the charges. US White House official John Kirby has said that the Indian government should hold those responsible accountable. Bharat, however, has said that necessary action will be taken on the basis of high-level committee's findings. But the larger question is this entire K menace A, straining Bharat's foreign ties, B, is it being used, a carefully crafted storyline to try and stymie or somewhere hold Bharat, corner Bharat on the geopolitical scenario, so that the rise of our nation is within the control of some of those who are part of the Five Eyes. Now, in the United States, we've seen protests outside the Indian consulate in San Francisco. In fact, the consulate was vandalized. The officials were openly threatened. The US has alleged Indian officials' role in Pannun's murder plot, but however, providing SFJ, in fact, Pannun, a designated terrorist by Bharat, who the US believes is a strategic partner with whom they want to forge better relationship, they are providing that person cover. The allegation is that even the FBI is actually giving Pannun cover. Canada has alleged that Bharat's involvement in Khalistani separatists and terrorists, and somebody who had a red corner notice against him, Hardeep Singh Nijjar's death. But there's so far no action that's been taken on Khalistanis threatening Indian diplomats in Canada. Several wanted terrorists are also sheltered in Canada. Nothing's happened. Australia too has been seeing a series of protests at the Indian consulate and the Khalistan graffiti at the Hindu temples that became a common affair earlier this year in January. All of that is on the wane now. In the UK too, Khalistani supporters staged protests outside the Indian High Commission, and there were threats that were issued, not just anti-India slogans being raised, but there was a certain intent behind even threatening Indians and Sikhs who stood with India and stood with Bharat, and threatening them and trying to even put the pictures of their family members and vilify them on social media. And all of this are criminal acts as per the UK law, and that also has been given action to, or that's happened. But is there some counter-action in the UK? So far, Indian authorities are saying there is. Now, in the past, anti-India protests by key elements were also witnessed in New Zealand. However, no recent protests have been witnessed in New Zealand. Now, this entire charade, is this a larger plot to corner us as a nation? And of course, somewhere hold control some of the Five Eyes nation, who on the one hand say Bharat is our friend, and on the other hand, they want to hold Bharat on a leash. Let's try and understand this in depth.
Hello, Moto.
Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF with us, and Ambassador Rajiv Dogra also with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, is this part of foreign policy? On the one hand, they say India is a strategic partner. We want to work together and forge stronger relationship. And on the other hand, they want to plant stories where they say, oh, look at this. India is orchestrating hit jobs on foreign soil.
Well, USA is certainly coming up with a new definition and behavior of strategic partnership. This is not how strategic partners behave. I think Kissinger, who passed away recently, defined US in international affairs the best when he said it is dangerous to be America's enemy, but it is fatal to be America's friend. So we were hoping that the recent friendship with USA through Quad and others would lead us to greater bridges, to more friendship and to more cooperative action. But this seems like a lynch mob that America has unleashed through its media, through its frequent interviews, where it says India is a strategic partner, at the same time damns India. The lowest criminal in the world is not treated in the way that America is hounding India. For example, America itself has a record of about 1 million deaths all over the world. America has done the most heinous crimes in Latin America, in Afghanistan, and sent not just guns to kill people, but also missiles, intercontinental missiles overflying Pakistan into Afghanistan. America has also not pursued to the last mile the Khashoggi case. Saudi Arabia has been let off the hook. China has police stations in Western countries. No one accuses China of any wrongdoing or violating their law. America, England, Israel have taken out people across many countries. But America will not tolerate any criticism or any questioning of its actions. The second thing is, why at this particular time America is so keen to take up the Pannun case when it has a known terrorist, a terrorist who has threatened to bomb aircrafts, Indian aircrafts, and has taken no action about Pannun. Another thought that comes to me is that when it comes to America's own actions, what about Headley? It knew Headley was going to do whatever he did on 26/11. Why did it not arrest him at that point? Why did it encourage him to carry on with his activities in Mumbai? 15 or 16 years have passed since 2008. America has not extradited Headley or Rana to India so far. If it is so keen on law and order and respecting the rule of law, then it should show some evidence that it acts on it first before asking other countries to do it.
But how would you read? What is the intent behind all of this? Is there an intent saying that America continues to want to have its hegemonistic hold? Is it because it's backing Canada? Because it was one of the Five Eyes that actually provided that so-called intelligence that Justin Trudeau made it known to the world on the floor of the Canadian Parliament. What is all of this? Or is America worried कि हम ही हैं जो घुस के मार सकते हैं? How can India do it?
Well, it's a combination of various things. I mean, this is a typical way of pressurizing another country in order to get something in return or something in exchange. America is using the pressure tactics to tell India that it should follow whatever lead it gives. That's plain and simple, because otherwise it would have waited for the investigation committee set up by India to come to some kind of a result. It is not as if, Pannun is under the threat of life. After all, he's got all the FBI protection. So either FBI is totally incompetent or America thinks that is just an eyewash.
So let's extend the friendship, Sushant Sareen. Let us try and identify those members who've been designated terrorists by America and give them intelligence protection or CBI protection on Indian soil. Let us orchestrate the destruction or the secession of various states of America and do it under the freedom of protest and freedom of expression.
Anand, I don't think we need to go down that road. I don't think that's what we do. And the Americans are very competently undermining their own democracy and destroying their own country with the kind of universities they have, the kind of professors they have, the kind of media they have. These rags called New York Times and Washington Post and all those vokes they have in these places, who basically follow what I would, or what actually it's Arun Shoury's quote, what is called the swallow and vomit journalism of the sorts we've seen today. There are two coolies who have filed a report in New York Times today as well. One of them is an Afghan living in India, and imagine he's talking about human rights and stuff like that. Anyways, forget about these guys. The bottom line is that, look, there are two things which are at play right now. One is, as Ambassador Dogra is saying, that this is one of those pressure tactics that Western countries very often use, and they hope that the other side will buckle under. I think what is happening right now from the Indian side is also an element of gamesmanship, that okay, fine, you want an inquiry commission, we'll hold an inquiry commission, But then we'll hold an inquiry into this nexus between all kinds of people, right? Which is okay. Let's see where that leads us. Secondly, I think it's very clear now, and in fact there are a couple of reports which seem to suggest it as well, that these Khalistanis are basically intelligence assets of countries like the United States, of Canada, of course. The political establishment is totally involved with these guys. They are hand in glove. They probably get funding from them also. In any case, they depend upon these Khalistanis for electoral support. So Canada is a different case. Canada is like Pakistan, right, in this matter. But the UK, for example, just yesterday, a former colleague of yours has published a report saying that the British are very cut up because the Indian intelligence was trying to infiltrate British intelligence Khalistan operations. Why would British intelligence have Khalistan operations? What kind of strategic friendship or partnership or whatever else you want to call it would be doing something like this? There's another report which had been published many weeks earlier in the Hindustan Times, which said that the Indians have told the Americans that we think that Pannun is a CIA asset. So they are also protecting their own assets. Right. Why do you think, Anand? It's a very simple question. I am a Punjabi. I think Ambassador Dogra also is a Punjabi. We understand the language. This rant of this madman Pannun, on where he threatens an Indian airline and says on the 19th of November, no Sikh should travel in this airline because your life might be in danger. What more evidence do you need that he's threatening to blow up an aircraft? And he's doing it publicly. Now, if the Americans are so dumb, so stupid, because that's what their education system has made them, then there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? Most senators and congressmen are probably in that category. But otherwise, they would have understood what the hell is being said. And they would have, if supposing Anand, you or I or Ambassador Dogra was to issue a similar threat against an American airline, do you think we'll ever be allowed to fly? Do you think the Americans will not want to crack down on us and say that, look, let us examine what are these guys up to? And here is a guy who gets off completely scot-free.
What applies to them doesn't apply to others, and that seems to be the case. Forget airline. You talk about an American pharmaceutical company, and then all hell breaks loose. We've got news coming through. We've got news coming through at this point. Top intel sources revealing to CNN News 18 that after Nijar's murder fallout, Government of India has assured all help to Canadian counterparts by NSA and other officials. After that, it was decided to send a team of senior intelligence bureau officials to Canada to see what all Canadians have against Bharat on Nijar. But after continuous requests from all ends, the Canadians have refused media, even visas to the teams that we are sending. The government has said that they should actually allow the teams to come and show all that they have, but despite multiple requests coming in from the Bharatiya Sarkar, they have not accepted the request at all. Now, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, please tell me, so many months after that, they have not even filed a charge sheet. The investigation is still on. The Canadian cops are still investigating the matter. We are saying, allow us to come and show us what you've got so that we can help you. They're saying, no, we will not give you visa.
Well, the simple thing here, and to extend the argument, the line of argument taken by Sushant further, is that Canadians are not interested in completing this investigation, as their own newspapers have reported. In fact, one of them has said that at the highest level, the investigation was vitiated, because the moment Trudeau finds that there is some conclusion to the Royal Mounted Police's investigation, then his Khalistani supporters would withdraw their support. So it's a question of political survival for Trudeau. So we are dealing with double standards. One is the face that they are showing to the world that we are the victims, because we were supporting all these terrorists, we were pampering them, we were letting them indulge in terror acts in Punjab and even in Canada. Now India comes along and says that why are you doing this? Isn't that unfair? That's the line of argument that Canada is taking. As far as America is concerned, all of us, in fact, let me go a step further and make a rather extreme statement that if you were to take a poll, you had exit polls and so on
Yes.
Today and yesterday. If you were to take a poll amongst Indians, right down from Punjab to Tamil Nadu, they would say that we should hunt terrorists wherever they are, be it in America, be it in Pakistan, or be it in Canada. As Sushant said, Canada is the new Pakistan. So if our interests are affected, then we have a right to bring those people to justice, as repeatedly American presidents have said.
Are you saying, Ambassador Saab, that this is a common sentiment on ground? And would you agree with this sentiment that earlier people would ask if other nations can send their teams to execute those who are acting against their interests, why is not Bharat doing it? And then are we really walking the talk on this ghus ke marenge claim by the Prime Minister? Are you saying that there is a sentiment on ground which says go ahead and do it? At least you're doing something.
All I'm saying is, firstly, I'm quoting the sentiment of the people of India. Secondly, all I'm saying is that if you have one standard, apply it across the board to Americans as well as to Israelis. Israeli ambassador here, Israeli spokesman in Israel have said that we will kill these terrorists in Qatar. The head of Hamas in Qatar. Why is America not making a squeak? After all, what is the proof that any Indian was involved in planning assassination of Pannun or anyone else? Because in this age of deep fakes, who knows? America had concocted that video or all the evidence that it is giving to
Sir, a nation that can concoct weapons of mass destruction in Iraq can concoct anything. But Sushant Sareen, how would you want to see it? How should Bharat handle this? Or are we going about it in the right way? Where we are saying, we'll investigate everything. This is something that you are telling, acha, aisa hua hai, let me probe this. And then we play along while we say it's business as usual.
No, I think what we will do is that we will investigate at our own level. And what we will investigate is what the Foreign Office has said, what the MEA has said. That we will examine this nexus between, I think what they've left unsaid is more important, that this nexus will extend to foreign intelligence agencies and their nexus with these criminals and these terrorists and maybe even foreign politicians and their nexus with these guys. I think we should come out with a report. Whether it's classified and can be shared or not is another matter. Secondly, I think, I don't see any reason why we should start panicking over just because the Americans are making a big song and dance about it. Let them say what they are saying. We should continue doing what we are doing. And yes, to the extent that there is some kind of evidence which they have, then let them prove it. We'll look at it in our own legal system. Why will we have to look at it in the American legal system?
Correct.
Number one. Number two. Number three, we should follow the same principle that the Americans followed in the case of David Coleman Headley and in the case of a whole lot of other people, including the Pakistanis who were sued for their involvement in the 26/11 attacks, and the Americans gave a free chit despite having known that the ISI officers were involved in the 26/11 attacks, planning and execution. The American system allowed the Pakistanis to get away scot-free, and that is what, in fact, somebody's informed me this today on Twitter, and that is what, and his information comes from the director of intelligence in the United States. Okay, I think the former CIA director or somebody. So they knew what the Pakistanis were up to, but because they had their own strategic reasons, they decided that they'll soft pedal the Pakistanis. The same thing which they did even with 9/11 attacks, because the 9/11 report, 9/11 Commission report had stuff on how members of the Saudi embassy were in contact with 9/11 hijackers and terrorists, and yet that part of the report was completely hidden. The Saudis were allowed, the entire Bin Laden family was allowed to fly away. So, when the Americans give us this spiel about rule of law and how
there are suggestions which say that why did America jump to try and officiate, mediate, etc. when the Manipur issue flared up?
Yeah.
So should we scour the northeastern parts of our country and see whether or not there are and thereabouts around those areas if there are American assets there?
If you allow me half
So let's pay it back to them in equal coin. That's another sentiment that's coming across. Two sentiments. One is that if other nations can avenge, why shouldn't we, and bring people to account on foreign soil or otherwise? However, let us just do it. And if that means it's adding to the stature of Bharat, go ahead. The second thing is, if there are foreign assets on our soil and we are aware of it, let's expose them and call their bluff all this while. We've looked the other way. Let's not look the other way anymore. Sushantji, Rajiv Dograji, I have to move on. Limited time here on the broadcast. So we'll continue this conversation post the 3rd of December, sir, because come Saturday and Sunday, the focus is going to be on the 5 state polls. But for the moment, taking your leave, thank you very, very much. Thank you.